Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about Rygar. I have some thoughts, but while I'm changing the stream title, go ahead and say yours first.
Um, I I did like it. I think that it's very engaging.
Hmm.
But it does seem a little bit difficult to navigate at times. It almost seems like there isn't much direction in a way.
Hmm.
Because you know how we kind of joked about how every single time that we would talk to one of the monks, they would just tell us something that we didn't have.
Yeah,
It doesn't really explain how to get those things. So, yeah, that can lead to frustration, I feel.
yeah, I will say that the first 2 minutes of this game was kind of an eye opener because we were dying and it just immediately said game over. No lives, just like straight up dead, game over, mortis, all that good stuff. And
Mhm.
then, but then we did find out that as if you can at least get to a section, then you'll start from there at least, which is something better than nothing. Um, and then we just kept going, and then we found out how open ended the game was, and then we found out that there's just weapons you can't get. I mean, weapons you can get, and then that's what needed to like progress certain areas. And we had monks just telling us, "No, no, come back when you have something, loser." Anyway,
Just like that loser.
yeah, just come back. And then we found a top-down section with very Zelda-like. I will say that section, those sections, for NES graphics look pretty good because
Yeah.
it almost felt to me like the half step in between Zelda 1 to Link to the Past because it's still NES graphics, of course, but you have like those like cliff sides that almost look like when you're near Hyrule Castle and like Link to the Past or something like that, which I thought was pretty cool. But
Hmm.
I do gotta levy some criticisms though, as as intriguing as this game was. Um, in that first side-scrolling sections, the enemy variety was kind of whack because you had those same turtles and the armadillos coming, and then eventually those like weird snake men would come. But then the enemies just keep coming. Like if
Yeah.
like I, it's not a lot of enemy variety in like certain areas, and then they just like don't. The spawning just doesn't stop. They for point like it doesn't even feel like you're. It feels once you figure it out, it feels more like an annoyance than a challenge, honestly. And that's something I wasn't like too keen on. And
Hmm.
as far as like figuring things out, I joked while we were playing about like how this is the game that kids would need to go call their Nintendo Power hotline to like get information about. But I'm honestly of the mind that especially if you're an older gamer who doesn't have a lot of time, if you really wanted to like seriously complete this game, you would need to have a guide. This is 100% a guide game because like there's just so you're all you're getting is like monks giving you cryptic hints about like go to top of mountain to fight Garlock or whatever his name was. Then you get to top mountain and then guy tells you, "Oh, you can't go further without the crossbow, idiot." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So then we go to bottom of mountain, go find this other area, are told, "Oh, you can't get past here without the grappling weapon." Proceed to go to other area and are told you can't go here. Do you even have the coat of arms, bro? I'm like, all we're being told is you don't have anything, like you said. And as funny as that is, that would also be infuriating if you actually were trying to complete this game to be running around all these different areas and being told to go another direction because you didn't have the given thing. Like, if you had, like, again, if you had like a guide to like know which way to go, and then it's just a matter of like surviving the weapons. I mean, not the weapons, surviving the monsters that are around you. I feel like that'd be more compelling experience because there's side-scrolling segments and there's top-down segments, and neither are like necessarily terrible per se. But you're just running around so much, lost. And then, yeah. Oh, sorry, that was another thing. When you're in the top-down section, if you go all the way across and game over, you have to start from the area. I guess that's kind of like how it was in Zelda 1, so that's not a huge complaint. But, like, you can, like, go ages and you can go, like, distances. You can go miles and go right back to the area if you were to, die. And
Right.
we didn't even get to see what this RPG thing was. There was that entire menu thing that we saw when we pressed the start button, but we have no idea what that was. Like, I don't know. Like, I was saying it before we were playing. I feel like this game of all the NES games here really needed a special version because I want to see what this game looks like when you have the weapons. How much compelling it is when you go through all this and get your weapons? Unfortunately, we can't answer that. But as far as
Mm.
what we played here so far, I think there's a pretty good, pretty well designed game here. Honestly, as far all things considered, it's a little messy with the enemy design. It's a little messy with the level design, I would even say. But I think there's actually a good game here. But yeah, this you need a guide for this. I can't recommend this game.
Yeah.
I can't recommend this game to anyone that like if you really wanted to complete this game, like you saw this game and you jived with the aesthetic and whatever, cool. But I can't recommend this game to anyone that's like not going to like I feel like a game like this is probably not too long if you're trying to get it off the backlog and you're enjoying it. But if you're just trying to you're exploring a lot of areas that are just kind of unchanging, which that's the thing of the NES time. I can't really hold that against it. But like in an area of these kind of games where exploring, like Breath of the Wild, for example, I know that's a very unfair comparison, but like every inch of like Breath of the Wild is like fun to explore because it looks so different. Whereas you're going to Rygar and a lot of the areas look the same, and if you're not paying close attention, you could get lost so easily, and that's another thing that's kind of against it. So, in your opinion, Megan, how do you think this game holds up based on what you've played?
I feel like it doesn't hold up super well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say that going back to what you were saying about the enemies, I would say that it also kind of is chaotic in a way,
Right.
because they spawn on both sides and they
Yeah,
go so
that too.
quick,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be almost overwhelming in a way. I don't know. I found the beginning to be a little overwhelming, because it just kind of threw you into it. Not only did it throw you into it, but all of a sudden enemies are spawning,
Mm-hmm.
right next to you. So you
Right,
don't
that
really
too.
get a chance to kind of adjust, getting into the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely another thing too. That the game will. I can always admire a game when it gives you just enough time to react. But when a game just kind of like puts an enemy directly against you, and then you just have to kind of take it, and then the game is basically. I'm not as keen on games that force you to die as a means of learning. There's a difference between not being good enough immediately to and then dying as a result and then learning from that. But if a game like you're being forced to die, like you don't have a choice, that's a very different story to me. It's a very key difference, but I feel like it needs to be possible for someone to complete on their first try, even if that's 1 out of 100 people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm so that's my thing, and yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat with you. I really do like what this game does. Like, I do like the two different gameplay styles. I think it's very interesting. You have your disc weapon, which is kind of cool if I'm being perfectly honest. And then clearly there's other weapons out there that are way cooler. Again, we can't speak on those. But that means you just have to
Right.
you have to explore this world and find them. You may even be able to find more health. Who knows? Who knows how like we're gonna be fully honest and admit that we probably haven't seen all this game has to offer. But the thesis statement of this game of having you run around and dying and being told that you aren't good enough because you don't have this weapon, it's tough to recommend going further unless you really want to put the time in to like learn that. And again, for a modern gamer of today to like really want to give this game the time of day, I feel like you would need a guide to like really find that stuff. And it's harder for me to say the game holds up when it requires you to have a guide. Um, you know. Oh, we,
Right.
we got a comment saying from Shamby Bambi saying, "Hello, Meg. Shampoo in the house."
Shampoo. Hi.
And then Bird Dogger also says shampoo. Ooh, you got some people that you got some people here, huh?
I did share the link with
Nice. You got
friends
your
in a
entourage.
Siberia.
Woo! Love it, love it. Thanks everyone for coming. But yeah,
Yeah.
to sum this all up before we move on to the next game. Yeah, I think if you're really into this, it might hold up. You might enjoy it. But overall, I can't say this like squarely holds up just because of like there's a difference between hand holding and just like literally throwing you out to the wolves. With covered in like salt or whatever
Right.
it was like. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on Rygar. I would recommend giving it a try, for sure. See if it's something that you enjoy. But if you don't, then I ain't gonna hold it against you, and I'm sure Megan won't either.
Of course not.